I think a stranger rewrote my death. Welcome back, guys. Settle in, because tonight's story is a real one. It came from Reddit, and it shouldn't exist. The apartment was almost dark. Only the laptop screen was bright, a pale rectangle on a cheap desk. The blinds were half closed, letting in thin stripes of orange streetlight from the Atlanta night. A box fan hummed in the corner, steady and tired. Somewhere outside, a siren wailed once, then stopped. Based on a true story. The man at the desk was named Jordan Price. He was 36, African-American, and worked nights unloading trucks at a warehouse near the airport. His hands were rough. His back hurt. His life was simple. 8 years ago, his heart had stopped on a cold highway for 3 minutes and 18 seconds. The doctors wrote, "Time of death," then crossed it out when he came back. Jordan did not talk about that part. Not to co-workers, not to old friends, not to anyone. Tonight, he wasn't at work. He sat in front of Reddit, on a horror forum he had never visited before. A co-worker had sent him a link during break and said, "You gotta read this one, man. It's not even scary, it's sweet." Sweet. That word bothered him. Now he was here, logged in under an old account. The post was at the top of the page. Big number of upvotes. Years old, but still getting attention. The title was simple, a short phrase. Nothing dramatic. He moved the mouse and clicked. The story opened with 5 words. "I died 8 years ago." Jordan's finger froze on the touchpad. He stared at the line until his eyes burned. Then he scrolled. He did not know yet that a stranger had taken his accident, his death, and something worse, his place in the world, and turned all of it into a comforting story for other people. The story was written in the voice of a dead man. Calm, simple, almost gentle. He said he died in a car accident on black ice just outside of Atlanta. He said the driver who hit him was speeding because his girlfriend was in labor. He said he did not blame the man. He said he had no family left, no friends, nobody to miss him. So when the funeral came, only his boss and the other man's family stood by the grave. Jordan's jaw tightened. 8 years ago, he had been driving too fast on I-285 in freezing rain. His girl was in the passenger seat, squeezing his hand between contractions. They hit a patch of ice. His car spun. Another car hit them. It all turned into sound and glass and weight. He woke up in the hospital with a broken leg, a scar on his head, and a nurse who told him his baby girl had not made it. He did not remember the other driver at all. On screen, the story moved on. The dead man said the cemetery felt empty. He said his boss barely stayed. He said the only ones who seemed to feel anything were the couple who had hit him. The woman clutched their newborn daughter, crying. He wrote that he followed them home. He wrote that the baby cried unless somebody rocked the crib. The parents were exhausted, so he rocked it himself, night after night. He said he did not need sleep anymore. As years went by in the story, the parents slowly noticed things. A toy moved, a door closed, the crib rocked. They put it together. This was the man they had killed. He wasn't angry. He was watching over them. They started to light candles on the day he died. They left a plate for him at dinner. Little gifts on a shelf. They said thank you out loud to the empty air. The story ended with a bad night. The woman's ex showed up, drunk and furious. He tried to force his way in. The ghost, full of years of offerings and love, picked up a kitchen knife. I'm not letting my family die. The last line said, "Not again." Jordan leaned back in his chair. His chest felt tight, but his breathing stayed slow. The dates in the story fit his crash. The weather fit. The hospital name was the same. The child in the story lived. His had not. He scrolled back up and checked the post date. 6 years ago. He did the math in his head. 8 years ago, same as him, a stranger had died in the story. He was still here. For the first time, he wondered if that was a problem. Jordan clicked away from the story, then back again. Part of him wanted to slam the laptop shut and never think about it. Another part wanted to pull the story apart, line by line. He read the top of the page again. There were no comments shown in the story itself, but there was a number under it. Thousands. People had responded, people had liked it. He did not open them. He did not want to see what they said about his death. Instead, he opened a new tab and searched for his own accident. Old news articles. Multiple vehicle crash on icy interstate. Mother loses child after weather-related collision. His name was buried in one paragraph. The other driver they had hit was named Leonard Carter, 45, African-American, single, no kids. He had worked as a teacher at a middle school. No close relatives were listed. A small funeral page said, "He will be missed by those who knew him." The date on that page matched his own crash exactly. Jordan rubbed his face with both hands. He remembered the social worker who had come to talk to him and his girlfriend Tiana later. He remembered a man in a gray shirt saying, "Sometimes people need to tell themselves something to sleep at night." At the time, he had thought the man meant him. Now he thought about the other side. The couple in the Reddit story had turned the man they killed into a guardian angel that never went away. Somebody had written that. Somebody had posted it online. Somebody had stitched facts into a new shape and called it comfort. On the horror forum, people treated it like a soft blanket. He went back to the story and forced himself to tap the little number that opened the responses. Words flooded the screen. People said the story made them cry. They said it was beautiful and sweet. They said it gave them hope that people they lost might still be around, helping. They said they wanted more from this writer. They said the dead man was the best kind of ghost. Jordan closed the comments. He could still hear the tone of them in his head. Not the exact sentences, just the feeling. They were happy he had died the way the story said. They liked him better that way. That thought sat in his stomach all night. The next morning, on his way to work, his phone buzzed with an email from the state. It said his driver's license renewal had been delayed due to a discrepancy in prior records. It said, in small print, that one of their systems still listed him as deceased, resuscitated. He had never seen that line before. He stared at the screen until the bus reached his stop. Then he went to work, picked up boxes, and tried not to think about the fact that, in at least one system, he was still dead. And online, someone else was making use of that. At first, the changes were small enough to ignore. An insurance portal that would not let him log in. A bank teller who said, "That's weird, it's like your name is on here twice." A co-worker who said, "Didn't I hear you died in some crash back in the day?" Then laughed it off. Then Tiana called. They hadn't spoken in over a year. The distance after the crash had grown into a wall. She had moved across town. New man, new life. No child. He answered anyway. "You ever read stories online?" she asked without hello. Her voice was flat. Like scary stories? He swallowed. Why? There's one going around at my job, she said. About a guy who died in a crash like ours. People keep sending it to me like it's supposed to help, like it makes things okay. You know who wrote it? He asked. Some woman, she said. Her account name's a joke one. No real info. She says she made it up, but she didn't. How do you know? He asked. The way she describes the crying, Tiana said. At the funeral, the way she talks about the cold at the cemetery, the way she says she felt him following her home. That's how I felt, back then, before I told myself to stop. She exhaled, a sharp sound. They think it's sweet, she said. They read about a man who died because of them and call it sweet. Why are you telling me? Jordan asked. Because ever since I read it, she said. I can't stop thinking maybe I did kill him. Not just with the car, with the way I moved on, with the way I forgot his name. She laughed once, without humor. And the worst part? Everybody likes this story where he stays loyal and kind. Nobody wants the real one where he dies in a hospital with no one there. So I guess that means I'm supposed to prefer the fake one too. He didn't know what to say to that. Tiana, he said. The man in the story. He's not you. He's not me. He's just... He's easier, she said. That's what he is. She hung up. That night, Jordan went back to the Post. There was a new edit on it, a small note at the bottom. The author had added a paragraph about how the dead man forgave the couple, how he loved their baby like his own, how he was grateful to finally have a family. It hadn't been there before. The more people loved the story, the more the author leaned into it. Jordan sat in the dark and felt something crawl slowly up his spine. The fear was not about a ghost. It was about the fact that enough people believed this version of the crash that it might as well become the one that counted. Jordan decided to message the author. He kept it short. Did you base your story on the I-285 black ice crash 8 years ago? The one with Leonard Carter? He watched the scent mark appear and fade. No answer that night. The next day at the warehouse, his supervisor pulled him aside. You got some kind of problem with your social? The man asked. Payroll bounced your deposit. System says the number belongs to a deceased individual, reinstated. They need more documents. Jordan nodded slowly. I'll handle it, he said. He had already sent those documents once. On his break, he checked his phone. The author had finally replied. No, it's just fiction. Please don't bother me about it. He wrote back. You said the baby's room was painted yellow. You said there was a crack in the back window from the crash. You said the man had a crooked second toe on his left foot. How would you know that? He sent it. No answer. That night, he checked the story again. The paragraph about the crooked toe was gone. The yellow room was now blue. The cracked window was now a creak in the floorboard. The author was rewriting details out of the story after he called them out. That should have made him feel better. It did not. It meant she knew they came from somewhere real. He slept badly, dreamed of standing in a room he did not recognize, watching a baby sleep in a crib while two adults whispered about him like he was a painting on the wall. Over the next week, more small things went wrong. His state ID renewal stalled. A letter from the tax office said they had received notice of his prior death and needed updated verification. Electronic records linked to him began to show 2 lines. One living, one crossed out. He wasn't losing his mind. He was losing his place. And somewhere on the internet, a story about a dead man defending his new family kept climbing in numbers. He took an afternoon off work and went downtown. The state office was a gray building with a broken automatic door and a long line of tired people inside. He waited, sat, stood, stepped forward when the line moved. At the counter, he slid his papers across: birth certificate, hospital record, letter from his employer. The clerk, a black woman in her 40s, chewed gum slowly and typed his number into the system. Her eyes narrowed. "Huh," she said. "You got 2 records." "I know," he said. "One says I'm dead." "Yeah," she said. "Says deceased in motor vehicle incident." Then a note that says record corrected. But when they merge databases, it looks like both got pulled in. One file thinks you're alive. One thinks you're not. "Which one wins?" he asked. She shrugged. "Depends who's looking," she said. "Some systems only read one row. Some read the other. Sometimes they flip." He stared at her. "Can you fix it?" he asked. She looked at the line behind him. Her jaw tightened. "I can submit a request," she said. "They'll review. Takes a while." "How long?" he asked. She didn't answer. He walked back out into the street. On the bus home, he scrolled his phone. In a group chat, someone posted a screenshot of the story with laughing emojis and hearts. "Man, look at this," one message said. "If I die, I hope I come back like this dude." They loved the idea of a dead man who protected a family that hadn't loved him in life. They did not love the idea of a living man who wanted his space back. Jordan stared at his reflection in the bus window. It looked thin, washed out. For a moment, with the city lights moving behind him, he looked almost like a picture someone had drawn. When he got home, there was an envelope stuck in his apartment door. It was from his landlord. Notice to vacate. Lease terminated due to documentation discrepancy. He sat on the couch with the paper in his hand and listened to the fan. The machines that ran his life didn't trust that he was real. The people online trusted a story more than a certificate. The author was hiding evidence, and the man who had died in the crash had no voice at all. Truth was not just worse now, it was optional. Jordan did not panic. He packed. He took clothes, his old phone, his laptop, a box of paper records his mother had kept, and the worn pamphlet from the hospital that had once explained what happened to his heart. He put them in 2 duffel bags. Then he went looking for the author. Her profile had very little. No name, no photo, no location. But one of her few old comments mentioned a grocery store chain and a local sports team in the same line. It was a small slip. He used that. He followed the trail through old tagged posts, event photos with blurred-out logos, and one careless shot of a parking lot with a street name half visible in the background. It took him 3 nights. He ended up outside a small townhouse complex on the west side. The sun had just gone down. Porch lights clicked on one by one. Kids dragged trash cans to the curb. He waited on the sidewalk until he saw them. A man, a woman, a little girl, all black. The man carried a grocery bag in each hand. The woman held the girl's backpack. The girl skipped between them, talking fast, waving her arms. Jordan knew them in a way that made his stomach twist. He recognized the way the woman's shoulders hunched, The way her eyes scanned the street before she laughed. The way the man's hand stayed near her back when a car passed. He had seen them in his head when he read the story. Now they were here. He followed slow, keeping distance, until he saw which door they went into. He did not go up right away. He watched the windows. A warm light came on in what must be the kitchen. Another in a small front room. Shadows moved. He could still walk away. Instead, he went up the path and knocked. Footsteps. A voice. The door opened a crack. The woman peered out. Up close, she looked younger than he had thought. Early 30s. Her hair was tied up. There were dark circles under her eyes. "Can I help you?" she asked. "My name is Jordan," he said. "I was in a crash 8 years ago. Black ice, I-285. Her eyes flickered. The hand on the door tensed. "You have the wrong house," she said. "I read your story," he said. The tension changed. She did not look surprised. She looked tired. The man telling you this is not here to judge her. He is only here to show you what people do when they cannot carry what they did alone. The woman's name was Naomi. The man's name was Marcus. Their daughter was Zaria. 8 years ago, Marcus had been at the wheel. Naomi had been in the passenger seat, holding her belly. Contractions, fear, excitement. He drove too fast because he was afraid of being too late. Black ice. One car, then another. Leonard Carter died in the wreck. Naomi and the baby survived. Marcus did not go to prison. It was weather-related. It was no alcohol involved. It was a tragedy. Those words did not help them at 3 in the morning. They started hearing things, in dreams, in the creak of the floor, in the sound of a crib rocking when they were both in bed. They felt watched. They needed that feeling to mean something other than, "We did this." So Naomi built a story. At first, it was only for them. "He forgave us. He follows us home. He loves our baby. He takes care of us. He is strong enough to scare away anyone who might hurt us." That story kept her from picking up the phone and calling the police on Marcus when his grief twisted into anger. It kept her from seeing a knife in his hand as anything other than protection. Years later, she put that story online. She made the dead man kind and simple. She stripped him of everything messy, no habits, no history, no wants. She called him family. She did not mention his name. She did not mention the nights when Marcus put his fist through the wall because Zaria would not stop crying. She did not mention how easy it felt to place all that rage on a man who could not argue. People loved her version. They said it made them feel safe. They said they wished they had someone like that watching them. They said the story was pure and gentle. They said the man with the knife was the good kind of scary. You need to understand this. She did not rewrite his death alone. Thousands of people helped her hold the pen. Naomi stepped outside and closed the door behind her. Marcus's voice called from inside. "Who is it?" "Just someone selling something," she lied. She and Jordan stood on the small concrete stoop. The night air felt heavy. A moth tapped at the porch light. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "You shouldn't know what my leg looked like in the cast," he answered. "Or how the rain sounded on the roof at the funeral. You shouldn't know I had no one in the front row." Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry. "I made it up," she said. He shook his head once. "You changed it after I wrote you," he said. You took out details. That means they were real. She swallowed. I went to the funeral, she said. They said I didn't have to. But I did. I watched them lower him. I felt him behind me when I walked away. For months, I thought he was in the house. Every time the baby's crib moved, I thought, that's him. So you decided he was, Jordan said. It was better than thinking it was just the wind and my guilt, she said. Better than thinking it was Marcus walking around at night with a kitchen knife because he couldn't forgive himself. Jordan stared at her. You wrote that he forgave you, he said. She met his eyes. I needed him to, she said. I needed somebody to tell my daughter that we weren't monsters, that her daddy wasn't a killer, that her mama wasn't a coward for staying. He took a step back. You took a man with no one, he said, and turned him into a tool. Everybody loved it, she snapped. Her voice rose and then dropped again. Do you know how much that helped? Other women wrote me and said they felt less alone. People said it made them hope their dead brothers and fathers were watching over them. You think I'm the only one in that story? The door opened behind her. Marcus filled the frame. Broad shoulders, scar on his chin, dark eyes. He looked at Jordan, then at Naomi. What's going on? He asked. Naomi did not move. This is him, she said quietly. Marcus frowned. Him who? He asked. The one from the crash, she said. The one from the story. She said it as if Jordan was the intruder in her version of events. In that moment, he understood something simple and final. To them, he was just a shape they had used. He could not stand inside a story everyone had already finished reading. The argument was soft. No yelling, no big scene. Marcus stepped out onto the stoop, blocking the door with his body. His voice stayed low. You can't be here, he told Jordan. We moved on. We did the work. We turned it into something good. You turned him into something good, Jordan said. Not me. Not the man who died. Marcus's jaw clenched. You're messing with my wife's head, he said. She barely sleeps as it is. She's finally found a way to live with this, and you want to drag her back. I want you to stop using me, Jordan said. It's not you, Marcus said. It's him. There it was. They needed the dead man more than they needed to respect the living one. Zaria's face appeared for a second in the window. Small, curious. Naomi turned and pulled the curtain. Inside the house, there was a shelf with candles and a picture frame. Jordan had caught a glimpse of it when the door opened. The man in the photo was Leonard. He looked tired and soft. Someone had tucked a little drawing next to the frame. A stick figure standing beside a smaller figure, both with big smiles. They had given his place to someone else. Then they had given that someone else to a ghost. Jordan felt a calm he did not like settle over him. You're not going to change the records, he said. You're not going to delete the story. You're not going to tell your daughter the truth. Naomi's shoulders shook. She's 8, she whispered. She needs to believe someone out there loves us. That it's not all just random ice and bad choices. Marcus stepped closer. You need to leave, he said. Right now. Jordan looked at him. If I call the state and say there's a man here who walks around with a knife at night, he said, they won't send anyone. You don't know that, Naomi said. Yes, I do, he said. They'll say you have a strong support system. They'll say the community loves your story. They'll say you turned tragedy into hope, and they'll close the case. He wasn't guessing. He knew how people worked when a story made them feel good. He walked away. No fight, no police, no blood. The horror did not need any of that. It already had something better. It had a version of events that strangers preferred. Days later, his bank closed his account due to unresolved identity issues. His warehouse job replaced him in the schedule without comment after his paperwork held up one too many checks. His landlord rented his unit to someone else while his appeal processed. Somewhere in the system, between the living line and the crossed-out line, his name sat with no weight. Meanwhile, the story stayed at the top of the forum list. People read it before bed. They smiled. They felt safe. They told each other it was exactly the kind of horror they liked. The kind that made the dead kind and quiet. The kind that never asked what happened to the ones who didn't fit. Epilogue. The second story. Months passed. Jordan stayed at a shelter for a while, then on a friend's couch, then in a car that wasn't his, but was empty enough. He stopped checking the old post. When he did go online, it was at the library, on a shared computer with a timer at the top of the screen. One day, when the timer said he had 6 minutes left, he saw something new on the front page of the same horror forum. Another short story, different title, same author. This one was about a social worker, a black man. Quiet, serious, always checking on people, always coming back even after he died at his desk one day from too much stress. In the story, the families he had helped felt him in their homes. They said he stood by their doors at night. They said he kept bad things away. They said he was a protector in the dark. The writer did not use his name. She did not have to. He read the whole thing in one slow pass. By the end, the comments were already pouring in. He didn't click them. He did not need to see the words to know what they said. They would call it beautiful. They would say they wished for someone like that in their lives. They would praise the author for turning real pain into something warm. He closed the window. His time at the computer ran out. The screen logged him out. As he walked back into the heat, he felt lighter in a way that was not peace. It was absence. If enough people believed the version where he was already dead, there was not much left for him to do here, except breathe and wait. The man telling you this will not give you a twist. There is no scene where he takes revenge. No moment where he proves, on camera, that the story was wrong. No speech that changes anyone's mind. He just fades out of the places that count. The payroll, the bank, the lease, the feeds. In a few years, if someone looks up his name, the most solid thing they will find will be that second story. The one about the social worker who died and kept making house calls from the other side. People will nod and say, "I remember that one. That one made me feel safe." You might read it yourself one night. You might smile at the idea that someone cares enough to keep checking on families long after he is gone. You will not think about the man who sat in a shelter, breathing, while his place in the world slid over to make room for the version of him people liked better. You will just close the app, turn off the light, tell yourself it was only a story. And somewhere, in a line of code or a memory of comments you never saw, the same sentence will repeat for someone else. "I think a stranger rewrote my death." And nobody argued.
Thank you for listening to The Storyteller's Moon. If this story touched you, scared you, or kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the stories alive, and I can't wait to share the next one with you under the moonlight. Until then, may your nights be safe and your dreams unforgettable.